This video isn't going to be a guide on how to improve your aim, have better positioning, it won't be 100 tips and tricks that you already know, or how to win at every rank. Instead, I'm going to talk about something a lot more important in my opinion, your team. More specifically, your relationship and mindset when it comes to dealing and interacting with them. Over the years, I've been in thousands of teams, whether they were the League 5v5s, Overwatch drafts, or Counter-Strike lobbies, not to mention all the teams from both school, sports, and workplaces. I think I know a little about this subject. To be honest, these team environments, though different in many specific ways, all generally follow a couple of key trends, an example being those within a team that clearly don't give a fuck about the outcome, and those that do. These trends all continue to be present within Marvel Rivals, which by the way I've had an absolute blast with recently, and I'm only making this to improve everyone's experience. Hopefully. And just to spoil the rest of this video, the level 1 position of, I have no influence over the rest of my team, so if I get unlucky, there's nothing I can do, is just wrong. I think that there's a level 2 position that some people may have already heard of. The only consistent factor in all my games is me, so I should put all my attention into my own gameplay to improve, playing multiplayer games with a semi-single player mindset. Though this is a lot better than the level 1 position and something that definitely works, I don't think it paints the best picture. And there are more nuanced alternatives, but I'll get into that a little bit later. To give a quick definition so we're all on the same page, though this isn't exhaustive, basically I see bullying as intentionally targeting a person with the intent to cause distress amongst a group of people. As an example, Bruce on Trend 9000 says, "Our DPS sucks ass," though this is obviously very tame. Why do people do this? Well, there's a bunch of reasons that I'm going to try my best to empathize with and list. 1. Some sort of logical reasoning that pushes the blame from anyone other than themselves to soothe their own cognitive dissonance. Maybe Bruce on Trend 9000 thinks that he's pretty good at the game, so if he's losing, logically, it must be someone else's fault. So he presses tab and checks the scoreboard to see the worst performing scoreline and flames them. 2. The shitty out-of-game experience turned shitty in-game experience. Maybe our friend Bruce has just got home from work and he feels like shit. He hasn't gotten laid in a long time and he's not happy with his life. He just wants to have a chill couple of games, but he starts losing so he explodes in the chat. 3. The frustration of not being taken seriously. Maybe Bruce really cares about winning these games. Maybe if he wins, he ranks up, or it's the last game he can play for a week so he wants to make it count. Or maybe he wants to go pro. So he puts a higher than average amount of effort in each game. He's played a couple of games at this point, but no one else around him seems to care as much as he does, and this feeling is immensely frustrating. No amount of patience can help bear with the weight of his anger, so he blows his top and loses it. 4. Has been playing way too long. Bruce is on hour 14 of his ranked grind, he hasn't eaten since breakfast, and has dropped 50 IQ points and gained immense mental instability. He doesn't even realize what he's doing at this point, and should really take a break. Any of these points aren't mutually exclusive and usually in some combination of the 4. I'm not here to shit on people that do this, but much like battling alcoholism, admitting you have a problem is the first step. I do understand where people are coming from with these perspectives, but I still think that it isn't the best way to approach the game. I'd also like to make a distinction between feeling these things and acting on them. It's one thing for Bruce to feel like shit after a long day of work, but it's another thing for him to take it out on his teammates in-game. There's also a difference between slightly heated but mostly constructive chats and just venting. Hey man, can you switch off DPS? We already have 3 and we really need a tank, versus
it's quite logical really if you think about it. It's quite logical. Instantly shot on sight also. Like first of all get cancer, second of all get shot with a shotgun but not in your head.
If for no other reason, this kind of approach lowers your chance of victory significantly. Now mind you, a lot of this is going to be pretty anecdotal, as I couldn't find any study or meta-analysis on toxicity and win rates regarding sports or video games. If anyone knows any, I'd be happy to see. However, I think that most people intuitively probably agree with this. When you attack someone in-game, there is a chance that they take it on as a challenge and start performing better. More than likely though, they're just going to check out and perform worse, and thus your chances of winning plummet. Not to mention the effect that it has on the other teammates. Either they'll join in on the bullying or try not to get flamed themselves. I'm sure we've all had games where the majority of time spent is chatting instead of actually playing the game. Overall, it just creates a really shitty environment that not only decreases your chance of winning, but is significantly less fun to be a part of. Though this is kind of a separate thing, there's this idea of meta slaves that just rubs me the wrong way. There's a type of player that will go into games looking to find the reason that they're going to lose. If you're in a gold game and complaining if someone doesn't pick the strict tournament S-rank heroes, I think you have to do a bit of introspection. There's some wiggle room I think for higher ranks, but I usually like the idea of giving someone a trial period before asking them to switch to something more meta. Especially since this isn't a game with an economy to snowball leads like Counter-Strike or League. I understand ultimate economy is a thing, but it's way less punishing. And just for the people that care, I did not play the beta, I've only just started playing recently. I'm at around 50 hours and currently Diamond 3, so I'm not the best of the best, but I'm definitely above average. Okay, so what can we do about this? I have a little system in my head that I use of characterizing people in my teams. They're kind of like personality archetypes. They are just a heuristic, and there's always overlap, but to share, there's the lurker, which is most people. These are the homies that won't type a single message, and if things go bad, will usually just mute all when targeted. We have the bully. This is the person that goes into games looking for the worst performing player to harass almost every game. There's the leader. This is the person usually making the calls, trying to communicate with the other players, and reasonably coordinate the group. There's the egomaniac / delusional. This is the player that is always seemingly doing insane shit with no regard for the team's success. These are the people who won't switch off DPS no matter how little impact they have. Usually these are the people that will just leave ranked games without a care in the world. We have the repairman. This guy is just trying his best to make everyone kumbaya and put out all the fires in game. Most of this stuff has very little to do with people's gameplay, more it's just people's personality in game. And honestly, there's a time and a place for all these types of people, maybe with one exception. A team full of leaders is the classic case of too many cooks in the kitchen, whereas a team full of lurkers, you guys are essentially playing with sophisticated bots. And a team full of repairmen, though rare, ends up looking like an episode of Sesame Street instead of a hero shooter. Usually the best teams have a balance of personalities and skill sets. Sometimes you do need a bully to give you a little kick into gear, but it's a shit environment if everyone is bickering at each other. These archetypes exist for me as they help me understand what our team is lacking and or has too much of. If it's 5 minutes into the game and we're losing, but no one has typed anything in the chat, we're probably a bunch of lurkers that need someone to call the shots and take responsibility. From a more long-term perspective, they also help me understand what I can improve on from game to game outside of strictly gameplay related things like aim and game knowledge. Personally, I naturally lean very heavily on the lurker and repairman side of the spectrum, which has its positives, but I think I found a lot of success in trying to play a more active role in team decisions, trying to become more of a leader and giving negative feedback here and there when necessary. And I think this is something everyone can do. Take a second to be honest with yourself, analyze what kind of archetype you are in your games and what you need to do to improve. I want to try and share what I think is my current level 3 position. I'm open if anyone else has things they'd want to add or prioritize, but this is where I'm at currently. Though you don't have complete control over those on your team, you 100% have the ability to influence them. Therefore, if you want to maximize the chance of victory, some effort put into learning ways to positively influence your teammates must be beneficial. I won't be able to guess all the problems that people might have with this position, but some good faith attacks that I've brainstormed that go against this philosophy are: though you do have influence over your teammates, the impact isn't reliable, and you'd be better off putting that effort into just improving yourself, giving no regard for your teammates. I get this a lot, and especially for those just starting out with learning a game, I completely agree, especially since it's kinda hard to quantify or see the effect you have on your team, but it's easier to see your own improvements. However, there's a concept called marginal utility that I think is super relevant in cases like this. This idea may seem scary or alien to those that don't know it by name, but everyone intuitively already knows this. If I give a poor person $1,000, they're going to be pretty happy with me. However, if I give a rich person $1,000, they'll appreciate it, but nowhere near to the same extent that the poor person does. But what does this have to do with Marvel Rivals and video games? Let's say in 1 week, I might play for about 21 hours or so. If I spend 21 hours practicing my aim, I might improve that aspect by about 75%. However, if I only spend 20 hours, I would still improve by 73%. This is just a long way of saying that every hour spent doing a thing doesn't have the same worth, and it's more heavily weighted towards the initial hours spent doing a thing. So, I could use that extra hour on something like learning how to have a positive effect on my teams. Now obviously, there's lots of aspects to your own performance other than aim, but the point still stands. Even if you just spend a little bit of effort trying to improve your relationship with your team, that will have a disproportionately positive effect on your performance. Okay, hopefully that's one argument settled. Another one I can think of is, just being nice isn't going to help me win my games. In fact, sometimes it can make things worse. Again, I super agree with this, but I think I demonstrated before that I'm not really trying to get people to just be nice, though that can be an aspect for people to work on. I want people to consider the effect their actions have on the performance of people on their team, whether that's trying to be nicer to people in-game instead of acting like children, trying to meaningfully communicate with other people instead of just ghosting everyone, or taking charge and leading others if you have the ability to and the game calls for it. Okay, I can only think of one more major argument that people might have. I don't think what you say and do matters. I've had too many games where I feel like I've been incredibly mature and tried to lead my team, but it didn't matter and we lost. The only thing that matters is how competent you and your teammates are. I probably empathize with this one the most. There's no worse feeling than when you put your team on your back in gameplay and basically act as a babysitter for the morons the game paired you with, just to lose anyway. But I'm going to push back on two fronts. The first is what I'll call the poker concept. I think the actual term for this sort of thing is called Bayesian statistics, but I'm not too sure. In poker, I might have a really strong hand, and so I don't fold, but somehow I lose anyway. Intuitively, someone might say, shit, I lost, so I should have folded that hand. But this is wrong. Your decisions aren't good or bad depending on whether you win or lose. They're good or bad depending on the probability that you will have won or lost. The same is true in anything, including Marvel Rivals. Though you can and will lose games that you tried to have a positive impact on your team, it still increases the chance that you will win. This win rate increase probably isn't huge. I'd guess it's only about 5 to 10%, which seems small, but over hundreds of games, this kind of stuff matters. The second way I'll go against this idea of, why even bother if I'm gonna lose anyway, is from a fun perspective. I think if enough people put effort into creating a better environment to play in, gradually, the community will become stronger and stronger and our time spent with the game will be even more positive. Though maybe this is just wishful thinking. I hope not. This video is heavily inspired by two iconic videos from a League of Legends player, Voyboy. Bloody legend, that guy. In those videos, he's having a shit time with the game, not because of any gameplay system or balance change. All the problems he had were to do with the community. It was heartbreaking to watch someone so clearly passionate and sincere for his love of the game have his experience held hostage by bad actors. League at that time was a special case, and I'm not going to say Marvel Rivals at the moment is even close to that. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. But I think the point of those videos is something I want to emulate in this one. I want to bring everyone together to take pride in making the community and experience as good as it can be for everyone. There are certain behaviors in multiplayer games that have persisted probably forever. Things like bullying, griefing, AFKing or leaving, and cheating are probably never going away. It's a human thing. But I think just like how we have influence over our teammates, we have the ability to influence these as well. The direction of this community is our responsibility, and we take action in every game we play, every chat we type, and every decision we make. It's on all of us to do that, but not just in this game, in every game, and hopefully in everything we do. In this way, life is the biggest MMO ever. That level 3 position that I came to didn't come from video games, but from work, and I think it's relevant in every aspect of our lives, at least the ones that involve people, which is to say most of them. I didn't make this my username because I really liked the original show, or because I have some weird bear fetish. It was given to me by a sous chef I had who meant it as a demeaning joke. But from that initial joke, the name kinda stuck for the rest of my time at that kitchen. And after my time ended in that kitchen, the name really stuck with me. It super resonates with how I approach my life and relationships. I am fully aware that a guy named Karebear is making a soy as fuck anti-cyberbullying video, but hopefully there are people that resonate with this a lot. Just like how Voyboys' video changed the way I approached video games. Hopefully this has some small effect on the games you play and maybe even the life you live. Or maybe not, it's not that serious really. I mentioned before that Marvel Rivals is kind of the opposite of League, mostly because of my perception of the community thus far. Now mind you, this is coming from one guy, so I could be wrong, but talking to others of different ranks and experiences, my current feelings of the community are optimistic. Generally, people are pretty reasonable and mature. Obviously, there's always going to be bad eggs and crazy fucks, but overall I've been impressed. I even remember a game where some guy typed something to the effect of, "Heh, Penny just isn't for you, kid." For context, this was a quick play game, which means it's not ranked and the Penny Parker player wasn't the best, but everyone else in the lobby pushed back against this dickhead, which was an insane moment for me. I've never seen anything like that from any game. Usually there's one person that tries to calm everyone down, but for everyone to realize that this wasn't okay was surreal. That's what I want to see more of, and I believe I will. We should all act like Chads and help each other out and not sit around like idiot bystanders when someone is being unreasonable. To be clear, I think a little bit of negativity and tension in the chat is good. I don't want everyone to be a fucking Karebear. We need a balance. Banter between teammates and enemies is super fun, but only when it is fun and people don't take it too far. And for these sorts of things, don't be the guy that says, people are way too sensitive. I wouldn't care if they said that to me. This is a brain dead take. If you think about it for all of 5 minutes, hopefully you can realize how stupid this is. Everyone has lived a different life and has differing levels of resilience to all sorts of comments. Though I'm not going to sit here and say something as stupid as, I don't give a fuck what people in a video game are saying to me, personally I'm a lot less sensitive than most. Probably from working in kitchens with a different level of toxicity. But thinking other people should have that resilience would just be ignoring reality. To be clear, no one is perfect. I'm not a saint, even I've had games where I'm a little toxic, especially in the past. I'm sure we all have. It's hard to control our emotions, but it's a lot easier to control our actions. I might feel some type of way when I see people playing like shit on my teams, but acting on that and treating them like shit, I think crosses the line. Ideally, we all become monks that can bear with seeing our DPS run into the enemy team without a care in the world, but I think we should all strive to just not explode in the chat first. This is also a gradual thing. You don't just chill out after one video and you will always have bad days, but over time it'll get easier if you put a little bit of effort in. To be honest, Marvel Rivals has been awesome. I'm a bit biased because I'm a massive fan of mechanically intense and competitive games. I also love team environments a lot. They create heaps of unique and interesting dynamics and experiences. For the same reason, I'm a sucker for sports anime, just to put it out there. If I had to put some sort of arbitrary score on Rivals, I think I'd give it about a 9 out of 10, though it's especially hard to put a number on a game like this. For one, it's free, which makes any sort of judgment on it extremely difficult. 2. The highs in multiplayer ranked games are going to be some of the highest, whereas the lows are some of the lowest, so there's a massive range of experiences when you play a game like this. However, if this looks like something right up your alley, then I'd highly recommend it. To those already climbing the ladder, I hope you take a second and think about your team a little bit more. If you're a psychopath and don't care at all about your games being more fun, then at least do it to win more. And for those that care more than most, take pride in building the community to be an awesome environment for all sorts of players, from the shitters all the way to the pros and everyone in between. Hopefully this is a game that grows and evolves into something fucking great. Have fun out there, peace and love.